Hello and welcome to When I Stop Fighting, the podcast, where we talk about the fight or fights that so many of us engage in this lifetime, as well as ways to help alleviate those fights. My name is Daryl Dittmer. Let's get started.
Hey, everybody. As we're wrapping up season 1 of When I Stop Fighting, the podcast, I want to tell everyone that I appreciate you joining us. I appreciate you listening and or watching, however you're doing that. And I wanted to let you know that I've put together some compilations on sobriety, recovery, on life advice stuff. Probably going to do some with some of the funny clips that we've had over time and some of the funny moments. So take a listen, take a look, and hope you enjoy them. We'll be doing that kind of throughout the holiday season. But as a reminder, for those of you that don't know, I am an author, and we do giveaways every single month from my website, which is Daryl Dittmer, DARYLDITTMER.com. And November, we're giving away a signed copy of my first book, When I Stop Fighting, The Unexpected Joy of Getting My Head Out of My Ass, as well as a signed copy of my second book, When You Stop Fighting, The Road You're On is Your Own Asphalt. So want to make you aware of that. And if you can take a listen, take a look, hit my website. We're going to be doing a lot of specials and things like that on the website for the books. My second book, actually, since it's a new release, is out right now. The ebook is only 99 cents, and that'll be for a limited time. So I'd love you to pick it up, read it, and let me know what you think. So be well and enjoy these compilations.
And then, Roland H. was one of the founders of the Oxford Group, which was the precursor to AA. In other words, the punchline of that is Jung said, "Hey, you got to find somebody that understands you, brother. You have to sit in a room with somebody that truly understands you, so that you can hear yourself in that other person. That's your only chance, is to be with other people who have been through it and will share their experience, strength, and hope with you. And then you'll do the same thing. You'll keep yourself sober and somewhat healthy by doing that with other people."
And so I guess, to just sum it up about what I feel about addiction is we have too much comfort, not enough cave. And back in the cave days, we would have had to earn everything. Like our meals, it would have been, the other day we stacked wood. I'm visiting my mom and my stepdad's home, and I'm in their basement in North Idaho right now. And we stacked 2 cords of wood. And it was my parents, who were both in their 80s, my stepdad and my mom, my husband and I, and then my youngest daughter, who's 20, and her boyfriend that was 21. And so we stacked these cords of wood, and there was something very communal and very we knew this wood is going to heat their home all winter long. And we did this work together as a community, as a tribe, and there was something very deeply satisfying about it. And that's how we would have gathered food, cooked food, eaten together. We would have had all of these things that we would have been, wow, yay, congratulations us, we did it. We've survived the winter. We would have been able to delay gratification because our survival depended on it. But now I can push a button and I don't even have to leave my house.
I did those, I check them off, and then I'm done, it's over. Warm up the bus. It doesn't work that way. It is a lifestyle, and that's how we attain that freedom, right? And one of the most important things to me about recovery has been, number one, I have to take out all the garbage. And you had mentioned, the amends and cleaning up the wreckage and all that sort of thing. And so to me, that's just taking out the garbage. And I think that's crucial. We can't have all that stuff that's still in us, because that'll just continue to churn and hurt us and damage us. And we've got to get all that stuff out. And that's a lot of what the mid part of the 12 steps is about, taking out the garbage. Over time, I'm able to temper myself, and it's not always comfortable. It's not always comfortable to don't just do something, sit there, right? Because
it's really
I mean, it's difficult, but it's necessary.
But we have to let go. I like there's somebody named Lila Orr that talks about letting go of the old ideas. I mean, it is all through the literature and all the programs, but letting go of the idea that I'm doing something wrong if I'm not doing something more. It's a very strong voice in the head.
It is, and I was speaking with someone not too long ago about that very thing, that it's I think we grew up, and people who get addicted and go down that road are very sensitive human beings. I think we're very sensitive human beings, and we're sensitive to all of the potential input, and we harden up over time, but I'm a sensitive dude, and I spend a lot of my life trying not to be.
And the biggest area that we all struggle with before sobriety, and especially after, is relationships. Because my little formula for people pleasing or caretaking or tiptoeing around and pretending to be who people want to be, that it might work for getting a degree, but it does not work in relationships. I never told anyone what I needed or felt, because unless I was drunk, and then it was some crazy feeling that had no relevance. But I didn't know what I felt. I couldn't tell people what I needed, or they were in love with an empty vessel that was pretending to be what they wanted them to be. So of course I got tired and left, But about the hairballs, and that old stuff, I think perhaps people would often hesitate to get into either therapy or recovery. I had this belief, like, if I knew there was some stuff down in there, otherwise why would I be doing all this shit, right? There must be some stuff in there that's bad stuff. So I was afraid if I started therapy or recovery, I would be ripping the Band-Aid off of all that stuff, and it would come spewing out and overwhelm me.
It's like a recovery program and sobriety has allowed me to be free. Not only am I not like locked up or legal issues, but I just feel free. I can go about my day and live my life without having to bow down to alcohol or other stuff.
No amount of pills, no amount of booze, no amount of anything. Everyone has their thing to escape life. Some people have trashy television and junk food. Like, everyone's whatever that is, but it's always just hiding. It's always just masking the pain because you're too afraid to like feel the realness of it all,
Right. Yeah. That's my story is one of, abuse of drugs and alcohol, and then sobriety. But the interesting part of it is I needed to get rid of the drugs and alcohol to experience life. And, the 12 steps was a great sort of starting point for me to be introduced to a different way of living. First of all, just a very different set of instructions for life than what we're accustomed to, or what we're brought up with. At least it certainly was for me. And so that's not a difficult, piece in terms of getting my head around it and over the course of time. And then I had to dive into other things to sort of reshape what I believed about God, higher power, universal intelligence, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. I'm a big believer that the less you define it, the better off we all are, because then I don't have to project it on somebody else. I can have it for me, and it's mine, and I don't have to, nobody has to believe the way I believe, which I think is a really cool thing. it's not something that I would ever go back to. So I feel like, one of the most important things that is probably a little outside of what mainstream AA might say is that you don't have to drink again. You just don't. And it's not this little thing on my shoulder that's, constantly pecking at me. It's just not. And it hasn't been for a long time. And I think that's something that I want to let people know that they can look forward to, right?
The thing is like, as I started to practice the honesty, as I started to be more open-minded to getting help, as I started to really participate, the thing that I fell in love with after a while was like, I just loved the results I was getting in life once I like fully dove into recovery and sobriety. It was like it's not easy. It's hard. It's something that we battle on a daily basis, but it is so fulfilling. It really is. And I want to touch too on the point you made where it's like coming in when you were younger, 19 years old into sobriety. It was the same thing for me. It was like, I would walk in there and I'm looking for any reason to say, look, like I'm not an alcoholic, or I can't relate to this. And it was the same thing for me. It was like, people were talking about everything that they had lost in life as a result of drinking and using. And the thing was, and this is why I feel like it can be hard when you're younger, is like, if you haven't gone through it, it's hard to really hear that.
Yes. Stick with the winners, the people who are succeeding in getting their lives to work,
Right. That's so crucial. I'm because there's a lot of people that'll get rid of the drinking and drugs or whatever the addiction is or whatever the issue is, and that can be set aside for a period of time. But unless I'm around people that are healing the mechanism, and the mechanism is me, and the mechanism is them healing themselves, I heard a long time ago that, and I think it's true, if I sober or not sober, if I lay down with dogs long enough, I'm going to get fleas. And I don't mean that in terms of just, the people necessarily, but it's just, if we hang out with people that do the things that we don't want to do, there's going to be that grating inside of us,
Yep.
and we can't afford to have that friction because that hits us where we're sensitive, and we are sensitive.
And then hopefully we get sober and start healing the old wounds. And ultimately, the gift of recovery is to calm down the nervous system enough to be able to look at that little inner child, that inner the kid within all of us who is hurting in there and needs our support. I know that's kind of touchy-feely shit right there. A lot of people don't want to stay with me on that one, but
whatever.
Great. Yeah,
that's great. I love it because when you said that, what came into my brain was one of the worst things I had to admit at some point, because I wanted to be a tough guy. I wanted to be, a badass. I wanted to be Rambo. I wanted to be all this and that. But the realization that I came to that really sucked was I was a scared little kid.
Now, a couple plus years in, I think, my biggest ally and my biggest adversary are the same person. And it just goes to, like I've had, my sponsor told me, Brian, there's only two people you need to learn how to love: yourself and your enemies. And I'm telling you, most of the time it's the same person. So, I believe right now in my journey that I am my limiting belief. It's me that stops me from getting stuff done. And whether that limiting belief is just throwing up my hands and saying, I can't do this, this is not going to happen. But the biggest lesson in recovery for me is that if I don't stop, it can get done.
I call them pretty shiny things, right? I have a disease of more, different, better. And that's what I kind of talk about in my book. And, Scrooge's master passion was gain. He was trying to have so much and there wasn't enough for him. Like I've always said, like, Prince Charming could show up at my front door on a white horse and he wouldn't be good enough for me, because addiction is about like this deep inner satisfaction, and you're looking at external things to fix internal things. And I do believe it does start with something external, you know, and it changes your brain. And for me, I believe sugar's the gateway drug. I didn't believe that in the beginning.
The sober recovery lifestyle is the absolute opposite of that lying, cheating, stealing lifestyle. And it's, I think of it like it's like I'm a snake shedding my old skin. You know, I'm just kind of wriggling out of this thing and wriggling out of all that madness and how I feel about things, and you know, life sucking and life being complex. You had mentioned, you know, the complexities of debt and the lies and telling people you're sober and having to remember and all that sort of stuff. That's a really complex lifestyle to live. I don't think we're designed to live that way.
And it was so frustrating that my formula for making myself happy was not working. It wasn't working. The degree didn't make me happy. The men, and that's when I got so pissed. I started using a lot more. I didn't really escalate my alcohol and marijuana use until grad school when I was about 30. And I thought, what the hell am I doing here with all these smart people? And remember, I had the whispered lie, which that's a theme in Worry Less Now, is, you know, the committee in our heads, I call it whispered lies. You know, it was telling me, if you don't succeed, you won't be loved. And the anxiety level was just, you know, so immediately I found my bar that I would go to every night. And I found a guy who grew his own marijuana to live with. And, you know, that's how I got through it. And thank God I did get through it. I didn't use or drink during the day. So anyway, I was very, very grateful to discover that I'm not exactly nuts, except for the disease of alcoholism and being affected by the family having alcoholism.